Hi, welcome to my channel. Now we uncover the untold story of the 1815 eruption of Mount Tambora, the volcano that darkened the world. In April 1815, a mountain on a small Indonesian island exploded with a fury that changed the planet. This eruption of Mount Tambora on Sumbawa Island remains the most powerful volcanic event in recorded history. It destroyed entire kingdoms, sent ash around the globe, cooled the earth, and created what became known as the year without a summer. The sleeping giant. Before 1815, Mount Tambora was a 4,300-meter-high stratovolcano covered in thick forest. Dutch records describe fertile farmland on its slopes, home to several small kingdoms, including Tambora, Peket, and Sanger. But deep beneath this peaceful island, magma was accumulating. For centuries, the volcano had been dormant, allowing pressure to build. By early 1815, locals began noticing signs of unrest, frequent tremors, rumbling noises, and small plumes of smoke rising from the summit. On April 5th, the first large explosion shook the region. Ash rained down for days, but people had no idea that this was only a warning of something far greater. The night the world heard, on the evening of April 10, 1815, Tambora erupted with unimaginable force. Eyewitnesses described 3 huge explosions that lit up the night sky. Sailors hundreds of kilometers away thought they were hearing naval cannon fire. The sound traveled more than 1,600 kilometers, a world record for an audible noise. A column of ash and gas shot 40 kilometers into the stratosphere. Superheated pyroclastic flows raced down the mountain at hundreds of kilometers per hour, incinerating everything in their path. The nearby kingdoms of Tambora and Peket vanished under ash and rock. The eruption's volcanic explosivity index, VEI, was 7, one of only a few such events in human history. Darkness across the islands. For days, the skies over the East Indies turned black. Ash fell as far away as Java and Borneo. Ships struggled to navigate seas covered in floating pumice. Witnesses wrote that the sun was obscured for days, and the sea looked as if covered with oil. When the mountain's summit collapsed, it left a vast caldera 6 kilometers wide and 1,100 meters deep. Tambora had literally blown its top off. The immediate death toll was catastrophic, an estimated 10,000 to 12,000. People were killed instantly, and tens of thousands more died in the months that followed from starvation and disease. Ash in the air, famine on the ground, thick ash buried crops and poisoned water sources. On Sumbawa and neighboring islands, survivors faced hunger and disease. The Dutch East India authorities reported that more than 80,000 people eventually perished across the region. Livestock died, and the once green landscape became gray desert. But Tambora's effect did not stop there. The eruption's sulfur dioxide gas mixed with water vapor in the upper atmosphere, forming tiny aerosols that spread around the world. These particles reflected sunlight back into space, lowering global temperatures for several years. The year without a summer, in 1816, Europe and North America experienced bizarre weather. Snow fell in June in New England. Crops failed in Germany and France. In England, continuous rain destroyed the harvest. People called it 1800 and froze to death. Food prices skyrocketed. In Switzerland, desperate farmers ate animal feed to survive. Riots broke out in France and Britain as bread became scarce. In parts of China, famine and epidemics killed tens of thousands. Historians now know all these effects trace back to Mount Tambora's eruption on the other side of the world. When darkness inspired art, the gloomy skies of 1816 also shaped culture. That cold summer, a group of writers, including Lord Byron, Mary Shelley, and Percy Shelley, gathered at a villa on Lake Geneva, Switzerland. Confined indoors by endless rain and dark skies, they entertained themselves with ghost stories. From that gathering emerged Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, a novel born from the literal darkness of Tambora's aftermath. Painters such as J.M.W. Turner later captured the strange red sunsets and hazy light caused by volcanic particles in the atmosphere. Even centuries later, scientists and artists still connect Tambora's eruption with one of the most creative and haunting periods in European art. Birth of climate science. Tambora taught scientists that volcanoes could influence global climate. In the decades after 1815, meteorologists began recording weather data systematically. Benjamin Franklin had earlier suggested that volcanic dust cooled the Earth. Tambora proved him right. Modern research using ice cores from Greenland and Antarctica confirms the enormous volume of sulfur from Tambora, estimated at 120 million tons, enough to drop the average global temperature by about 1 degree Celsius. It was the first truly global environmental disaster witnessed by modern civilization. Death toll, damage, and legacy. Exact numbers will never be known, but historians estimate that at least 90,000 people died as a direct or indirect result of the eruption. The destruction of the Tambora kingdom erased an entire language and culture from history. The explosion released so much ash that global sunlight dimmed for nearly 3 years. When the Dutch returned to survey Sumbawa, they found fields buried under meters of pumice and entire villages gone. For the survivors, famine and disease continued long after the ground stopped shaking. Yet human resilience endured. New communities eventually rose on the fertile volcanic soil left behind. Tambora today. Modern Indonesia still watches Tambora carefully. The volcano is part of the Pacific Ring of Fire, where tectonic plates meet. Today its crater is quiet, filled with green vegetation, but geologists monitor seismic activity around the clock. Climbers who reach the rim can look down into the vast caldera, a reminder of both destruction and renewal. Tourism has slowly developed, and the Indonesian government has designated the region as a national park. Locals call Tambora the mountain that teaches because it warns people to respect nature's power. Why this story matters? The eruption of Mount Tambora is more than just a natural disaster. It's a story about the planet's interconnectedness. One volcano in Indonesia changed weather patterns across continents, destroyed crops in Europe, and altered human migration in North America. It reminds us that our world systems, air, sea, and land, are deeply linked. In today's era of climate change, Tambora offers both warning and wisdom. The Earth's balance is fragile, and small shifts can ripple across the globe. Finally, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share this World History Facts Hub channel.